Joe, my question is, and this is all these things that we are talking about have been on the drawing board for all these years. Now, during your presentation, you made some very, very, very interesting recommendations. And let me pick them one by one. And if you can address them as you did, that would be very, very. And I want to start the first one. I have your presentation here. I actually went and printed the whole presentation that you gave, which was very, 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 very interesting. And I'll start with the first recommendation that you made. You gave 11 recommendations, 11 of them. First one is accelerate the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. You said trade by state parties of AfCFTA who are also members of. What did you mean by this? Are we not trading amongst ourselves? Well, you said accelerate the implementation of the AfCFTA, trade by state parties of AfCFTA who are also members of the REC and the FTA must also be issued the AfCFTA certificate.
Okay. Right. So basically,
explain that to us.
Basically, what I was saying is that look, you have countries like ECOWAS, who is already a free trade area zone. Right. You have the economic EAC, East African Community, right, which is also a free trade area. You have the Southern Africa Development Community, right, which is also a FTA, and so on and so forth. Right. So the point is that,
and these are doing very well.
Right. So what we could have done, though I'm just saying, and it's not late, we can reset. Right. What I'm just saying is, look, you have the tripartite agreement. Right. The tripartite is made of 29 countries, of African countries. Right. It has 11 ratifications already. Mm-hmm. It's only left with 4 ratifications, which is 15 to make these the tripartite agreement hold. So what we could have done was to have said, look, tripartite, let's get the energy to get the tripartite to go. Once we get the tripartite, 29 countries, they can trade amongst themselves. And we just sit down with them and say, look, 29 countries, if you're going to trade within that block, that zone, please, if you've ratified the AfCFTA, then when you trade, instead of asking for the FTA tripartite stamp, just put we can recognize both, right? So then what you do then is to say the 29 countries, let's go and make an offer to ECOWAS, 15 countries. 29 plus 15, we iron out the whatever agreement. What is most important in this sense is to look at your tariff lines and to look at what the tariff lines for the tripartite is, what the tariff lines for the CFTAs, and the discussion is about harmonization, right, about those lines. So 15 plus 29 would be what?
That's about
44. So if you're able to get that, right, you have 44 countries already done. Yeah. The next thing that we do is to then go to ECAS, 11 countries, right? So within a short time, see what I'm saying? You get what I'm getting at? Within a short time, the CFTA would have gone for the whole continent. Now we say the CFTA is not moving, so we're going to do something called guided trade with only 8 countries to test pilot the CFTA. Good, but I'm worried that if we are not careful, we'll say that is the that's what we are going to use for our CFTA. So I think for that reason, I think that we can go reset, in my humble opinion, and see how we could use the REX to be the launching pad to get our REX going. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, one of the questions that has been going through my mind, I mean, Joe, if you look at the continent, majority of SMEs are in the informal sector. Largely, controlled or led by women and young people. How do we get these informal SMEs to become actors in the African Continental Free Trade?
They are trading already, but they may not be doing formal trade.
Right.
There are a lot of traders who go to, in my country, Ghana, who travel to Togo all the time. So what you want to do is to formalize them. And by the way, if you're able to formalize them, you get some taxes also, tax revenue. So what we need to do, in my opinion, how do we make it conducive for them? One of the reasons how we could do it, one of the ways we could do it is to, well, register them. And then in terms of financing, right, access to credit and all that, a lot of the women travel with money on them, which is very risky. So what we could do is that we can get a bank in Ghana to have an alignment.
We already have them. I mean,
Right, with
EcoBank, AfCFTA,
EcoBank,
Stanbic,
all
all
this.
these are regional banks.
So what you could do is to come up with a way and to say that, look, if you are traveling to Togo to go and buy your goods, may I suggest to you that we have this facility called a bank. Go and leave your money there. And when you cross the border, you pick it up there. Right? So you get the central banks involved and there's a bit of a transaction. So they put their CFA or wherever they got their CFA, or even if it's CDs, they put it in the bank and then pick up the CFA when they get there.
Isn't the mobile money doing it?
I don't know. I have to investigate. I don't think so. I don't know a mobile money where.
You can do the conversion of the currencies. Yeah, that's another challenge.
But one of the ways we could do that is, you know, the AfCFTA Bank. The AfCFTA Bank has a payment system platform. And that payment system platform allows traders to pay for their goods in the currency of their choice, of the domestic currency. So that's another way you can do it. You let them leave their money in a bank in Ghana, get a piece of paper, an IOU to be claimed when they get to the other side.
I'm laughing because, I mean, when it's AfCFTA Bank, you know, a payment system, I mean, I'm asking myself, how many Africans are even aware of the AfCFTA Bank, you know, payment system? So we seem to be doing quite a lot on the continent, but the real people on the ground do not seem to understand these things.
But you see, other thing.
Emmanuel, that I also talk about all the time is that we seem to think, particularly the private sector, always seems to think that, you know, there is this organization, the ECAs or the AfCFTA banks and all that, would have to involve them in some of these discussions. But my point always to the private sector, you are the beneficiary of most of these things. So I would appeal to the private sector themselves. They should be convening such meetings
And inviting, you know, the ECAs, the African Union, to come and tell them, you know, because they should be keen to do what the West does. It's the private sector that knows this. It's the private sector that puts governments, put people into governments. So it's for them to gain. But they shouldn't always think that there is the ECA or there's somebody who will have to, because they always complain that they are not part of the discussions. That's not right. I think, yes, I agree that the private sector should be involved in all these discussions, but the private sector should also take the leadership.
Proactiveness.
Proactive,
Right.
proactive. Maybe
Right.
that's the way.
Right.
To be proactive, you know, and in calling on, you know,
The partners or the institutions. Yeah.